What is up, guys, and welcome back to the 14th episode of the Kritic movie podcast, where we talk about movies and all that other fun stuff. And remember last week when I said we don't have much to talk about? Well, guess what? This week, we got everything in the world to talk about because, boy, is there a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, we had breaking news upon breaking news this week. I mean, we're going to talk about this Kevin Feige possibly producing a new Star Wars film. We're going to talk about Spider-Man is back, baby. Spider-Man is back, and they just hired a new director to handle the Obi-Wan series, and we got lots more to talk about. We got the Irishman reactions, and it's going to be great. So with that said, let's start this podcast.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is
Han Solo. I'm Captain of the Millennium Falcon.
Bond.
Up in the sky, it's a bird!
It's a plane!
It's Superman!
Hasta la vista, baby.
Say hello to my little friend!
Here's Johnny.
and here we go.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 14th episode of the Kritic movie podcast. Did I say 14 at the beginning? I don't remember if I said 14. I actually think I said 13. I don't know, but it's the 14th episode, gosh darn it, and this is gonna be a great one. I hope everybody's having a fabulous day. I'm currently recording this on a Friday, and it's been a pretty good Friday. I mean, this morning, I got a chance to go watch Judy. Brilliant movie. Make sure to go check out my review. And last night, I got a chance to go see my favorite horror film of all time, The Shining, in theaters, and it was a blast. So let's just, you know what, I want to start off with that really quick. Don't worry, we'll get into the movie news, don't worry. But I got a chance to watch The Irishman, goodness gracious. We'll talk about that movie soon too. But I got a chance to watch The Shining in theaters, and I obviously had to see it because they're having the 4K release, and obviously Doctor Sleep is coming out. And they showed a little sneak peek. They didn't show much, but it kind of showed how it's gonna relate to the book and the novel. Even Stephen King was talking a little bit about the movie, and he obviously is famous for not liking The Shining, the movie, obviously, because he wrote the book. I mean, if he doesn't like his own book, whatever. But so I watched The Shining, and I mean, whenever you watch a horror movie in theaters, even if it sucks, it's always a little bit scarier, at least for me, because the music is on full blast, and boy, was the score pouncing in that movie theater. It was fantastic, and it was just like, and there was a little moments where I did a little bit of hippity hoppity, because, you know, it was a bit freaky. But the funny part of this was that there was a guy sitting next to me, where basically every other scene, like, let's say Jack Nicholson is talking, like, when he's talking to Lloyd, and he's like, "Hi, Lloyd," and literally the guy next to us, he was always like, wow. Like, he would always comment on the scene. Now, I know to most people that'd be annoying, but to me, it just added to the experience. I thought it was hilarious, because he'd be like, "Hi, Lloyd, I'm gonna get a burn bin on the rocks." And then the guy would be like, He'd kind of be like a Sketsy from Dark Crystal, where they'd be like, That's what that kind of reminded me of, where he'd be like, But anyways, it was a blast. It was fun. I think they're doing another one on the 1st of October. I can't believe it's already going to be October. But on the 1st of October, and if you haven't seen The Shining, what are you doing? But it was just a fantastic movie experience. I mean, it's not like I love the movie a lot more. I mean, I adore the movie as it is. It's my favorite horror movie of all time. Whereas, like, Jurassic Park, I saw it in theaters, and I actually liked it a lot more than when I saw it at home. But it's just a fantastic movie. I also saw something. Well, I started watching celebrity comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld, obviously, which has been around for like 7 years or something. But I was watching some of them, and I watched like the Eddie Murphy one. I watched some of the earlier ones. I forgot which ones. I watched the Jim Carrey one. I think that was like the first episode. But this came into my mind. I'm like, I feel like the reason these shows are as popular as it is, like comedians in cars getting coffee, is because I feel like people just like seeing celebrities being normal. And I think even Judy, which I saw this morning, I think that movie even kind of talks about that, about celebrities not being themselves, like Judy Garland. Like, she wasn't able to be herself and live her own life. And I feel like that's what makes these shows so appealing, is that people are like, oh man, celebrities are just like us. I mean, they have the same conversations. And I think that's why shows like that is also so appealing and popular. But another thing that kind of got out of it was that, so the Eddie Murphy one, so obviously he's coming back with a stand-up, Coming to America 2, which I just can't wait for. I actually just watched it a week ago, and it's Coming to America. It's fantastic. And I was wondering, and he even brought up the same point. I'm like, it's Eddie Murphy. Everybody knows the name Eddie Murphy, and he hasn't done comedy in forever. But let's say he goes up, and because usually when comedians, before they go out and do their tour specials or everything, they usually test their stuff at like the comedy stores and whatever, see what bombs, see what works, and so on. So obviously Eddie Murphy's gonna do the same thing. When? I don't know. So even Eddie Murphy brought this up. He's like, well, I'm Eddie Murphy, right? And then what if he goes up, and then let's say he says jokes that are just not funny to most people, because there's jokes out there that could be funny to some, but not to most. But let's say he goes up there and he says jokes that aren't funny, but the audience still laughs because it's Eddie Murphy. So that kind of has me curious and a bit nervous because of that. Because what if he realizes, like, oh man, it's funny, but it's really not. And let's say he does his $7 million paycheck special, his $7 million paycheck special, and he tells those jokes and just ends up bombing. Now, I'm sure he knows better. I mean, he even said it on the episode, which if you guys haven't seen, I think came out like in March of this year, but it's a really good episode. But it just has me curious. I haven't really talked about that, so... Anyways, I also watched something that came out on Netflix, and that was the Between Two Ferns, the movie. Now, obviously, Zach Galifianakis, he did the interviews with the celebrities before, and they were just great to watch, and obviously they did the movie, and so I watched it, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. I thought it was really funny. The story, I mean, I wasn't expecting like a great story. I mean, it's a ridiculous storyline. Will Ferrell's in it. He's fantastic, but the film is just great. I mean, they used what made the interviews so amazing in the first place and just used it to full potential in this movie, and it's just a blast to watch. I was cracking up the whole time. If you liked or really enjoyed the Between Two Ferns interviews that Zach Galifianakis did, you'll definitely enjoy the film. And if you haven't seen them, make sure to check out the interviews and also watch the movie, because I think it's well worth your while. So with that said, let's get down into this movie news. All right, let me take a sip here real quick. Anyways, gotta keep the mouth fresh. Anyways, so there's a lot of big news that came out this week. So the first topic that we're going to talk about, all right, you guys ready? We're going to talk about my favorite superhero of all time, and that is Batman, or in this case, the Batman. So some casting rumors have been going around that are sort of official or confirmed, not really, but that... So Jonah Hill and Jeffrey Wright are basically like in talks to be in the Batman, which comes out next year, and I think it shoots pretty soon too. But so Jeffrey Wright, as I believe, he's rumored to play Commissioner Gordon. I think Jeffrey Wright looks like a Commissioner Gordon. I mean, just looking at him, and if you call him Commissioner Gordon, I'd believe it, because he just looks like a Commissioner Gordon. But I think he could be great. I mean, he's a really good actor. I really enjoy him. And then Jonah Hill is also rumored to play a villain. Now, which villain is the question? Penguin was the first one to float around. I don't see him as the Penguin, to be honest. Look, I love Jonah Hill. I think he's great in dramatic roles, and he's great in comedic roles. And that's fantastic. But I haven't seen anything. I mean, yes, you can also make the argument for Wolf of Wall Street, but I haven't really seen anything that really shows him to be a good Penguin. I mean, the Riddler's been floating around. I prefer the Riddler over Penguin, but I haven't seen anything. Again, I love Jonah Hill, but I haven't seen anything that has shown me that Jonah Hill has the capability of playing a villain like Two-Face, like the Riddler, like Penguin, like, I don't know, Scarecrow or Mr. Freeze. I don't know, any villain. But again, I love Jonah Hill. He probably does have the capability because, I mean, he has the capability to do drama really well. He has the capability to do comedy really well. And, I mean, I think he can play a Batman villain. But as far as, like, what I've seen from his films, which I've seen a lot of them, there's nothing in them that I'm like, oh, man, this guy would be great for a Batman villain. I mean, he's not the first one on my list. But again, I love Jonah Hill, so I like these casting rumors. Again, Jeffrey Wright, I think, is a great choice for Commissioner Gordon. And Jonah Hill, I like. I don't love, but I like. So anyways, those are my thoughts on that. But so the next topic we're going to be talking about here, so let's talk about something else, alright? So let's talk about this big news that just dropped today as of September 20-something. So Spider-Man, as we knew it, a couple weeks ago, I believe, left the MCU for contracts. Disney wanted 50%. Sony was like, nah, we're having no part of that. And then it was just a total breakup. It was a mess. Everyone was crying. But then, remember, I said this. Well, I mean, a lot of people said this as well. But I said that, hey, guys, look. Sony said that Marvel's welcome to come back / Disney's welcome to come back and negotiate some more deals so we can work this out, because that deal is working well for both of us, but you're just asking for too much. And then they ended up renegotiating, and as what it looks like, it looks pretty good. Now, Spider-Man is confirmed to have a third standalone Spider-Man film in the MCU with Kevin Feige producing. And I don't know anything else because nothing else has really come out, but just with that alone, it has me excited. I like it. Because, well, I mean, Spider-Man's already coming out. It's already out on digital. So Spider-Man Far From Home, spoiler warning. But basically, when Far From Home ends off, his identity is revealed. J.K. Simmons comes up as J. Jonah Jameson, and Spider-Man's identity gets revealed. So that's a big, huge cliffhanger. Now, they could have continued it on in their little Sonyverse thingy, but it would have been better if it was in MCU because, it's in the MCU. So I'm glad about this. I just don't know. I mean, if it's... do I see this deal continuing after the third Spider-Man film? I don't know. I really don't. Because I feel like there's a missing piece of the puzzle that we don't know yet that really just answers all of our questions about this whole mess-up thing, this whole mess of emotions. I feel like there's a piece of the puzzle that we don't know yet, that is yet to come out, that's going to make us, oh yeah, like this is good news, or oh no, this is bad news. But as far as this goes, I mean, yeah, I'm happy. I mean, we get one more Spider-Man film in the MCU. I mean, obviously I'm happy. It's hard to find somebody who's not. But will he end up? I don't know if he'll be able to show up in other MCU films, like I don't know. Let's see what's coming out. I don't know. But will he show up in other MCU films? I don't know. We're yet to find out, and we'll see what happens with that. So let's talk about something that makes me very happy. I mean, that also made me happy, but not as happy as this. And that is the Irishman reactions have come out, baby. Oh my god, I am so excited for this movie. Yeah, Martin Scorsese, who's one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. Robert De Niro, one of my favorite actors of all time. Al Pacino, it's Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci. It's Joe Pesci. And Harvey Keitel. It's Harvey Keitel. And, I mean, you get that cast and that director, and I expect greatness. And I'm not even hearing greatness. I'm hearing classic from this film. I mean, these reactions are insane. I wasn't even expecting reactions as positive as this. So I'll start rating these reactions. I think it just premiered at the New York Film Festival, which makes sense. So let's start off here. So Kevin L. Lee says, "Boy, The Irishman is a fitting homecoming for De Niro, Pacino, Pesci, and Scorsese's ode to gangster cinema. Hilarious and sharply written, a portrait of mortality and legacy, told like a culmination of everything we have ever seen in the genre. It's long, but never boring." Hey, remember, this movie is 3.5 hours, and that's... Oh my gosh, sharply written? That's exactly what I want to hear. Exactly what I want to hear when you have talent like this. Oh my god, I'm so excited for this. And Chris Evangelista says The Irishman is a masterwork. Ooh, funny? I'm getting a lot of funny. Epic and most of all melancholy. I've heard that has me curious. It is Scorsese's confronting aging legacies and mortality. Mortality, another word thrown around. I may or may not have teared up at the end. I'm gonna take the I may. I think he did. Alright, let's see here. Brett. Let's see what Brett has to say for himself. The Irishman. An instant Martin Scorsese crime classic. Oof. That's everything you want to be and more. De Niro's best work in ages. What's that supposed to mean? Pesci lights up the screen, I'm sure he does. And Al Pacino as Jimmy Hoffa screams about the Kennedys is the peak of cinema. Yes, I love hearing Al Pacino yell. That's fantastic. Jason Gorber says, The Irishman, audacious epic, a film that feels like it spans lifetimes, yes, yet whisks by. Technically bold. That's like the first time we heard about the de-aging stuff, so that's good. Performances raw and darkly humorous. It is a culmination of Scorsese's genre fascinations and a late career triumph. Truly cinematic, demanding to be seen big. I do want to see this on the big screen, but I don't know if I would be able to because it's in select theaters, and who knows. But, I mean, you're hearing this. This has me jumping in and out of my seat. Alright, let's read 2 more here. Jordan Rumi says, The Irishman. Think Goodfellas, but directed by the man who gave us Silence. I never saw Silence. I want to see that movie. A culmination... Let's restart this. A culmination, meditation, and tribute to every Scorsese, De Niro, Pesci collaboration, and yet Al Pacino towers over all of them. Wow. With a funny, sad, and haunting performance as Jimmy Hoffa. Al Pacino, man, he's getting praise. Love it. Man, I am digging this. I'm telling you, I'm excited. The Irishman is like a greatest hits album from a master of the medium. Yes, that's a positive. The artifice of de-aging is more feature than bug. Interesting. Wow, that's good. It's not slow. It often moves like lightning, and elsewhere it's downright Bressonian. Whoa. Wow, that's a big word. This is not a review. Those are embargoed. I mean, that's kind of a review, but whatever. Alright, you know what? Let's just read one more. There's one more here. Patrick Sandberg says, Watching De Niro, Pesci, and Pacino fire on all cylinders together shattered me to pieces. It probably will do the same thing to me as well. That is what I live for. The Irishman is rapturous. Man, these are big words. That's what I get out of those reactions. But man, does this make me excited, because you're hearing Al Pacino as haunting as Jimmy Hoffa. You're hearing great things about Pesci and De Niro. You're hearing this as a great Scorsese classic. You hear that this movie just goes by fast. You hear it's not like Goodfellas. It's not like any other Scorsese movie. However, it is a Scorsese movie. That sounds amazing. You hear it's funny, which I love. You hear Al Pacino yells about the Kennedys. That sounds like lots of fun, and I cannot wait to see this movie, and I'm sure you can't either. And right now, it currently holds a whopping 100% on Rotten Tomatoes with 32 reviews, and which is I mean, it doesn't. I mean, not many reviews, but it's still a start. And man, I did not expect this much out of this movie, which I should have because it's a Martin Scorsese movie with this cast. But I cannot wait for this film. I'm telling you, Netflix is kicking booty. I mean, with this film, with the what's that movie? The Marriage Story with Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. Great stuff, and I cannot wait for this movie. So with that said, let me take a sip of my Coca-Cola here. Alright, let's move on. So the next thing we'll talk about is more reactions. That is the Gemini Man reactions. Now, is it having as positive buzz as Irishman? Let's find out. Alright, so let's look at the reactions first really quick. Alright. Let's see here. Okay, so the first one comes from Vinny Manusco. Manusco? Say Manusco, whatever. Ang Lee's Gemini Man is a huge breakthrough for 120 frames per second presentation. Action sequences are breathtaking in the format. Will Smith's winning performance shows the level of scrutiny a real movie star can stand up to. If you don't see it in theaters, you're missing a true experience. Now, before I move on, I am really excited to see this movie. The trailers look phenomenal. It's Ang Lee, Will Smith. You put those two things together, and hopefully you get great execution. But the odds are good. Are on their side when you put that duo together. So let's move on. Max Every says, just saw Gemini Man, and it's wild. The young version of Will Smith is incredible, plus some true beautiful action sequences and a really great performance by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, the only 3D movie I'll ever endorse. I'm not a fan of 3D, to be honest with you, but let's see here. Ann Cohen says, just saw Ang Lee's Gemini Man, and it's legit. Old Will Smith versus young Will Smith equals a visually visceral experience that's absolutely wild to watch at times. Again, Ang Lee delivers bold, unique action that's on par with the best. See it in 3D for sure. I mean, with all these 3D talk, I might just do that, even though I don't like 3D, so let's see. I'll read like 3 more here. Eric Davis says, Gemini Man is a technical marvel in its frame rate of 120 frames per second. The action sequences legitimately took my breath away. The 20-year-old script leaves something to be desired, but seeing a young Will Smith pull off the dramatic moments was a treat. Now, kind of what you're saying so far is that the action sequences are beautiful. Just the de-aging is phenomenal, and Will Smith is great. The performances are great, but the story is not as good. That's what I'm kind of getting. Which, I mean, I like me a good action movie, so. I'm probably going to butcher this guy's name, and I'm sorry. Hoi Tran Bui says, there's one scene in Gemini Man where old Smith and young Smith have an all-out brawl with one another. That sounds pretty fun. It is pretty amazing to watch. I asked Ang Lee how they executed that sequence, and he said it was so involved. It took 9 months to complete. 9 months for a fight scene. That's insane. Eric Davis says again. He says, just saw the final cut. The final cut of Ang Lee's Gemini Man, and it's probably the only movie I'd ever say absolutely must be seen in 3D and 4K if possible. I've never seen anything like it. It felt like I was inside the movie. Wow, that's great to hear. Let's read this last one here. Jordan Zakarian says, in Gemini Man, the young Will Smith throws not one but 2 motorcycles at the old Will Smith. And that to me is very good, highly recommended. So again, basically the consensus here is that Gemini Man, great action movie. Story doesn't hold up very well. Performances are great, and digitally speaking, it's fantastic. So that's cool. I mean, would I like if the story was better? Yeah, probably. But anyways, let's move on to the next topic, and this one is also one for the ages. So let's talk about this here. So Kevin Feige, you guys know him. He runs the whole Marvel show over there, owned by Disney. So he is now in talks, or developing, I shouldn't say, I don't think he's in talks anymore, for a new Star Wars film that is unknown yet. Now, he could be doing anything. He could be co-producing with the Benioff and Weiss stuff. I was about to say like some random name. I don't know what I was gonna say, but he could be co-producing with Benioff and Weiss. He could be doing some other nonsense. Who knows? I was about to knock that over, but who knows? So we basically don't know much other than he's doing something in the Star Wars universe that's supposedly supposed to be new. And Kevin Feige is like a fan of Star Wars, which is kind of key if you want to do something with Star Wars. And while I say that, I'm going to take a sip of this wonderful Coca-Cola here. Anyways, moving on. So Kevin Feige, so he's in talks to produce this new Star Wars film that is unknown. So what does Critic think about this? Well, let me tell you. I love this. I really do. I think Kevin Feige's done a brilliant job with the MCU, as you've seen. I've loved most of the MCU films. There's some that I'm not a big fan of, like, don't hate me, but Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, wasn't a big fan. Iron Man 3, wasn't a big fan. Thor 2, wasn't a big fan. Iron Man 2, But anyways, I love what he's done with the MCU. He's made so many great MCU films. And just hearing he's a fan of Star Wars films and he's just producing one Star Wars movie has me excited. Now, a bunch of questions come into this. Now, is this multiple movies or one movie? I mean, he's a busy guy. I mean, there's rumors of him stepping down from the MCU, but remember, he said multiple times that he has plans. He already planned out Phase 5, and he already knows what he's going to do with Phase 5. So it's going to be a little bit until he steps down from Marvel. But now let's say if he does do multiple Star Wars films while handling the MCU. He probably, at least my guess, I mean, I don't know the guy. I don't know him. But let's say he does do the multiple Star Wars films while handling the MCU. I don't think he'll be fully involved in them. Because, I mean, the MCU takes up... just handling that looks like it takes forever to handle. I mean, that looks almost nearly impossible. That he's somehow handling very well. And just putting multiple Star Wars films on top of that is a lot to ask for. Or maybe what he could do, because he has a lot of people at Marvel, he can have other producers handle some of the MCU movies while he's over here doing Star Wars movies. That can work out really well. He obviously has lots of trust in people over at Marvel. He could come in at Lucasfilm, do a little thingy, go back, yo, what's up, Marvel? Go back to Lucasfilm, yo, what's up, Star Wars? You can do a little bit of that. Or let's say he does step down soon. Let's say that he does one movie, success. Another movie, success. And little by little, his trust gets higher and higher at Lucasfilm to the point where, like, man, this guy is making some great movies here. They're making money. I don't know, because look, I like Kathleen Kennedy as the head of Lucasfilm. I think she's done some things wrong, and I think she's done some things good. I mean, I love The Force Awakens. I love Rogue One. I like Last Jedi. Solo was fun. But if you look at Kathleen Kennedy's list of things she messed up, like the Rogue One reshoots, like the whole Solo debacle, like the Episode 9 directors, compared to Kevin Feige, who's produced almost how many Marvel movies? And literally the two things that are like, oh, that didn't work out so well, is the Edward Norton and the Edgar Wright are like the only two things that just didn't work out well. Meanwhile, Kathleen Kennedy has like 4 things that happened that did not work out well, like the Solo reshoots, like the Rogue One stuff, like the Episode 9 whole thing with the directors. And that's just 4 Star Wars films compared to the how many MCU movies, and Kevin Feige hasn't had a problem since how long? 2010? I mean, yes, I'm not trying to hate or trash on Kathleen Kennedy. Again, I really like her. She's fantastic as a producer. She's produced some of the best movies. I mean, the Indiana Jones films, E.T. It's insane, and I think she's done a solid job with Star Wars. But I think Kevin Feige is more organized than she is, so therefore, I think he could do a really good job handling Lucasfilm if he's up for it. And then again, Kathleen Kennedy has also some other movies lined up for, and maybe she wants to move on to that because she's probably like, man, I'm tired of this backlash, which I absolutely get because nobody likes backlash. But I don't see Kevin Feige stepping down from Marvel until like after Phase 5 because again, he has plans for Phase 5, and I'm sure maybe he wants to do something with the X-Men or the Fantastic Four, and it'll be a while once they enter in. And at some point, both Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige are going to step down. And it would be funny if they just like flip-flop, but I doubt that's going to happen. But I love this. I really, really do. What's going to happen? What's his game plan here? I don't know. That's just some speculation on my part. What do I think is going to happen? At least for now, I think he's just going to produce a couple movies. That's what I'm thinking. And I absolutely love it. And I cannot wait to see what he does next, and hopefully it's great. Alright, now let's talk about some other news here in the Star Wars universe, and that is Lucasfilm/Disney has found their director for Obi-Wan, and that is Deborah Chow. Now, if you guys don't know who Deborah Chow is, she's been around in the TV universe over there. She's done stuff like The Americans, Better Call Saul. Now, I haven't seen those shows. However, they have great reviews, and everybody's loving those shows. So I think that's a great pick, even though I haven't seen it. But the majority say that the shows that she's worked on are fantastic. She's also worked on Mr. Robot. Let's see here. Let's see what else she's worked on here. I'm looking at her IMDb page here. She's worked on Jessica Jones. She worked on some Netflix films here. She worked on this movie called Lost in Space, which was a Netflix movie that I hear was okay. I didn't see it, but I mean, she even has some nominations on her resume there. So I think that's a good pick. It's because she has experience. The stuff that she's worked on, the majority have liked, either I haven't seen it. So I think that's a good pick, and I don't have much to really say about it because I haven't seen none of her stuff. But she's obviously had experience, and I'm sure she'll do a great job with Obi-Wan. And maybe she's also a fan of Star Wars. Hopefully she is. Because that gives me more hope. You see what I did there? But I like this. I do like this. I like this quite a bit. So yeah, those are my quick thoughts on that because I haven't really seen much of her stuff. Now this one was something that had me a little bit like, oh, really? Wow. So Bob Iger has a new book that just came out, which I plan on picking up sometime in the next couple days because I really want to read it. So Bob Iger has a book coming out that's something about like the years of success of being Disney's CEO or something like that. And he talks about George Lucas and basically when Disney paid $4 billion Star Wars, $4 billion Star Wars paid $4 billion to get the rights to Star Wars, and obviously they got it. And Disney can obviously do whatever they want from Star Wars, no matter what George Lucas has to say. Now, the reason why I bring up George Lucas is because, so basically, George Lucas wrote like 3 treatments for the Force Awakens script, and he submitted it to Disney, and they did not use his script for the Force Awakens, as we all know, and he felt a little bit betrayed. He got a little bit butthurt because of that. Now, what's my stance on that? I think it's Disney's right to not use George Lucas' script, and I get why he would be betrayed because he's the creator of Star Wars. Well, he didn't give them Star Wars, but he was able to give up Star Wars for $4 billion, which was a pretty good price which was a pretty good price because Disney's already gotten that money back pretty easily. But because he's the creator of Star Wars, so I get why, because it's like the respect factor. But it's also Disney's right to not use George Lucas's stuff. But it's also been known that George Lucas doesn't write the best content if you look at the prequels. But he has great ideas. I mean, I love George Lucas. He made Star Wars. I love Star Wars. He's fantastic. He's one of the best creators in the film industry ever. So I get where he's coming from. However, Disney has the right to not use his script. And maybe his script was bad, but maybe it was awesome. We just don't know. I understand where he's coming from, but I feel like it's Disney's right to not use his script because George Lucas gave up those rights when he signed his name on that contract. So yeah, those are also my thoughts of that. Now let's talk about something else that's wonderful that also broke the news this week, and that is the OG cast, the OG 3 from Jurassic Park. That's right, the OG 3 is coming back to Jurassic World 3. We don't have a name yet, but so Laura Dern came out for like some screening for something, I don't remember, and she basically announced, yep, we're all coming back. She's like, yeah, me, Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, we're all coming back to Jurassic World 3. And not just for cameos, we're going to play heavy key roles into the film. And Kid Critic, when he watched that, he was like, yes, because I want none of that Jeff Goldblum nonsense that we saw in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. He was just wasted. Absolutely wasted in that movie. And it's Jeff Goldblum. You do not waste Jeff Goldblum. It is illegal to do that. And I'm just why? Just why do you do that to him? So this has me excited. I mean, with the battle at Big Rock thing being amazing and kind of hopefully hinting at the tone to Jurassic World 3 with the OG cast returning, this has me so excited for Jurassic World 3. More excited than I was for Jurassic World 1. Way excited. I cannot wait for this film. I mean, Jeff Goldblum, I mean, he's just awesome in Jurassic Park. I mean, Ian Malcolm is my favorite character in the Jurassic saga, I guess you can say. So seeing him return is brilliant, and I cannot wait for this movie. I mean, I'll say it over and over again. I cannot wait for this movie. So yeah, that's my thoughts. I cannot wait for this movie. Oh my god, I even annoyed myself saying that. So this is our final topic of the day. I know. Why? And this one is controversial to say the least, and that is Joker. So Joker is coming out in a week from now. Wait, hold on. Before I continue. So Joker's coming out in a week from now. And I cannot wait for it. I'm seeing it, I don't know, hopefully Thursday night. And it's getting most people are liking it or loving it. You're either loving it or saying it was pretty disturbing for me. That's kind of what the synopsis, or the consensus of the movie is. It's what happens when you just talk forever. So the controversy. So basically, people are afraid that this movie is basically idolizing a psychopath murder killer too much. That's people's worry, which is understandable. I mean, the victims from the Aurora shooting when Dark Knight Rises came out, I mean, that even got me scared to go watch Dark Knight Rises. I mean, the fact that you're scared to go see a movie in a movie theater is sad. It's just sad. And I get where they're coming from. I get where everyone is coming from. And I mean, because this movie does look really disturbing, and that's what the reactions even say. But here's my one little thing with this, and that you've had all these movies, where the main character is murdering people. And I was watching this one show where somebody was talking about John Wick as an example. John Wick goes to town on some fools. He does. I mean, you look at movies like American Psycho. You look at movies like the 1960s classic Psycho. All these movies have the serial killer as the main character. It does, and people's worry is that that Joker shines a good light on the serial killers, and then the Warner Brothers came out and Todd Phillips came out. They're like, no, it doesn't. And even what's his face? Joaquin Phoenix. Even Joaquin Phoenix is like, he even got tired of answering the question. I get where they're coming from. I get where these people are coming from. I mean, I would kind of be a little bit scared too, which again sucks. It sucks. It really does. But you've had all these movies, where the main person is murdering fools, just murdering fools, and you said nothing then? I mean, it's kind of odd, but I get where they're coming from. I really do. Even I'm like, yeah, I mean, you have a little bit of a point, but you've had all these other movies where it's done like the same exact thing. But I still can't wait for this movie. I mean, the reactions have been pretty good overall, and I just cannot wait for this film. And speaking of Martin Scorsese, I mean, this movie also has a Martin Scorsese, goodness gracious, has a Martin Scorsese feel. Just cannot wait for this movie. Just cannot wait. So again, I get where these people are coming from, but there's then all these other movies that literally have the main character murdering people. It's like, and you said nothing there? It's kind of weird. But anyways, it's kind of my thoughts on that. And that's it for me here, folks. That's it. It's a wrap. The Kid Critic Movie Podcast episode 14 is at a close as of right now. And we talked about some very interesting stuff. I mean, we talked about the George Lucas, Bob Iger confusion mishap thing going on there. We talked about some amazing Irishman reactions. We talked about Spider-Man. We talked about what did we just talk about? Oh yeah, we talked about Joker. We talked about the Joker controversy, and boy, was it a blast. It was an absolute blast, and I haven't even finished my Coca-Cola. What the heck? Anyways, so with that said, make sure to follow Kid Critic on the Instagrams at KidCritic1, and make sure to like and subscribe as well on the Kid Critic channel, because it's always nice to get more subscribers. And with that said, look out for the next episode of the Kid Critic Movie Podcast, where we talk about movies and all that other fun stuff. And I feel like this week we had a lot to talk about. Last week it was short, and I feel like it's been 1 week, not much news. The week after, oh my god, like news just came to town. And I feel like it's a hit and miss. That's what's been lately. So maybe next week will be like 5 seconds. So we'll see what happens. So with that said, look out for the next episode of the Kid Critic Movie So with that said, look out for the next episode of the Kid Critic Movie Podcast. There's one for the bloopers. And as Kid Critic always says, peace.